Hello and welcome to Cornwall. My name's Andy Paramore. This is Andy's Cornish Creations, and in this video I'm going to be making a small bowl out of Iroko with diagonal flutes around the outside. Here I'm putting a drill hole in. I think it's a 7mm drill hole to fit onto my worm screw, which is fixed into the chuck on the lathe. I'll screw it in there, and then put the lock on the lathe, and just tighten it up against the face of the chuck, or the jaws. Here I've got my 1/2-inch bowl gouge, and I'm just going to turn it to round to start with, and then start giving it a bit of shape. The speed of the videos at 4 times. Any of the speeded up sections of the video 4 times speed. The lathe is about 800. Just reducing the width of the piece there a little bit. And because I'm going to be carving the flutes on later, I need to put a tenon on both top and bottom of this bowl, so that I can fix it onto the chuck and use the chuck as a sort of vise to do the work on the flutes. So here I'm going to cut the tenon onto what will be the base. And now I can turn the piece around, take the worm screw out, put it in the chuck, keep a bit of tailstock support whenever I can. And now I'm just taking that excess wood out of the way, and that will be the top of the bowl. Here I'm using the calipers to mark for a tenon, which will in effect be inside the bowl, but of course it's only a temporary thing, just so that I can hold the piece while I put these flutes in place. Get you a bit better view of that. So I've created the tenon there, and this is just creating a dovetail onto the tenon for my jaws to fit onto. Here I've cut a piece of wood at a 45-degree angle, just to get a general idea of the angle of the flutes. My plan was to use this all the way round, but after drawing the first few on, it didn't seem to quite work out. I was finishing up with wider sections and narrower bits, and it didn't quite work, so I decided to sort of freestyle it and just do it by hand with what looked like a 45, and then now and again I just double check it with the piece of wood just to make sure that I hadn't gone sort of wildly out of off the 45-degree angle. You should see there, I'm just starting to wander a bit. And that's got it all drawn on. It's not too critical about everything being exactly accurate. Sometimes it looks better if it's a little bit random than everything being sort of having a machined look. At the end of the day, it's been done by hand. So this is a number 9 wood gouge, and I'm using a wooden mallet. But this is really just to get the placement of the flutes. I'm not after some sort of finished look with the chisel. Later on I'm going to be going on there with a rasp and then sandpaper. But it's just to start off the flutes really, and it was quite tricky in places because the grain was sort of fighting me a bit. It didn't seem to be, because of the orientation of the wood, there was no going with the grain. It was just it was sort of going a cross-end grain. It seemed like it was doing that all the time. But I got there. Leaving it fixed to the lathe worked really well, held it nice and solid. And here is where I've attached it to the tenon that's effectively inside the bowl, and again it's working very well for holding the piece. So just methodically going around creating all the flutes. And here I've got a wood rasp, and gone round the whole thing with the rasp, deepening the flutes, and trying to keep them nice and even. And now wrapping a bit of I think that's 120 grit, no 80 grit sandpaper, wrapped around a round file, and I'll go around the whole thing. I'll just put a little mark there so I know where I started, in case I get round it and not realise where I've started. And here I've moved on to a finer paper. I think this is 180 grit, and it leaves quite a nice finish, this one. I'm not after a mirror shine on this piece, just a sort of a sort of soft sheen. So I've got it turned around again, so it's on the tenon on the bottom, and now I'm starting to hollow the bowl out. I've got a tungsten carbide tool, a homemade tungsten carbide tool. It's nice chunky thing, and I do like it for hollowing the bowls out because it's really solid. And I can sort of reach out over the tool rest without it bouncing at all. Here I've got my round nosed scraper, negative rake scraper. It's an inch wide, and I'm just tidying the top edge up a bit, putting a little flat on it, and it sort of emphasises the flutes and just tidies the top edge up. Just checking on the depth. I can go a little bit deeper than that. Happy with that, so onto the sanding, and it's a 80 grit sandpaper. And then we're down to the 180 grit sandpaper there. Just clean some of the dust out, and then I'm going to apply some sanding sealer just to seal up the fibres on the wood. And also I'll put some around the outside. Just take away the nibs with the Scotch Brite paper, and now I'm applying some abrasive paste. Just wipe off any excess paste. Obviously the flutes need to be done by hand. So now I'm trying a new product, the Howard's Wax It All, suggested by Gary, and this is the first time I've used it, so I thought I'd give it a go and see what it was like. And as I say, I'm only after a soft sheen, so I'm not after a high wax shine, and this was very easy to apply and worked quite well. Right, so that's all done. I just want to take the tenon off the bottom. So luckily it fitted over my jaws, so I just put a bit of non-slip material on there and opened the jaws into the opening on the bowl, and that allowed me to turn the bottom. Again, I keep tailstock support as long as I can. I'm using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge here. And then my negative rake scraper again. Take the tailstock support away, and just make sure that the bottom is slightly concave, so it sits down nice and flat without riding on the bottom. Sand down to I think it was about 320. Again, apply some sanding sealer and some abrasive paste. Wipe off the excess, and put some more of the wax on. Give it a buff up. And that's it, nice and smooth. I'm going to hand you over to myself in a short while, but there will be some pictures right at the end, so stick around and you'll see some photographs at the end, just to show some close-ups.
Okay, so there we have it. Little bowl. It's about 4.5 inches in diameter and about 2 inches deep, and quite simple, but with a lot of hand work. The work with the chisel was just really to get the grooves in place, and then using the rasps and a lot of sanding to get those flutes nice and smooth. But hopefully it's quite effective. It's turned out how I wanted it to, so that's always a bonus. But yeah, a pretty little bowl, and yeah, well, there you go. If you did like it, give it that thumbs up, like, share, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do, that'd be great. The numbers of subscribers are increasing, and I'm really grateful for it. And hit that little notification bell as well when you do subscribe, and it lets you know that a new video is coming up. And of course, comment. Please comment. I do enjoy reading them all, and I do get round to answering them all eventually. Yeah, that's a big part of it all. So, thanks for watching. My name's Andy Paramore. This is Andy's Cornish Creations, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.